It has been a very interesting 2 years, and now organizations are starting to invite the employees back to the workplace. Now, the landscape that we are dealing with today is very different from 2 years ago when organizations had to adapt and start having employees work from home. That change was more reactive. It was very quick, and people didn't have much choice but to embrace the change and adapt. Now having them come back to work is a very different circumstances. People have got used to working from home. It has come with its perks and challenges, and it's not going to be the same speed that it was when people started to work from home. So organizations need to be mindful of that and understand that this is going to be a slower change than it was when employees started to work from home. So it's important for organizations to have more empathy and compassion for employees, because in the last 2 years, the experience for each employee has been different, and people are at different stages of mentally, physically, and socially being ready to come back to work. So this is something that organizations definitely need to acknowledge. Now, as they go through this change, it is important for it to be managed effectively. And the first one is for organizations to share their vision. How do they see this change happening? Over what period of time are they hoping employees come back? What kind of coming back are they talking about? Is it 100% at the office? Is it 50-50? Is it going to be rotation? Is it going to be fixed schedule? So they need to really do that planning before they communicate anything to the employees. And it would be more beneficial if they include the employees in this planning to hear what are their thoughts, what are their challenges, because the more engaged the employees are in the back to work planning, the more likely they will embrace it and go along with the change. So to reduce any confusion, they need to share their plan and their vision. Then they need to provide the rationale, because 3 years ago, if we talked about working from home, many organizations were resistant about this change. And the assumption was that working from home is not the same as working at the office. The productivity, the engagement, the teamwork were under question, whereas today, we have challenged many of those assumptions, and we have been working from home in the last 2 years. So for organizations to invite employees come back to work, they have to provide the rationale of why they're doing this. This way, they will reduce resistance against it. And that rationale needs to be reasonable and realistic. So this would help reduce resistance. The other part is, giving information, possibly training. What does coming back look like? What do employees need to do? So giving them that information will also help manage their anxiety. Many are worried, how would coming back look like? How are they going to interact with their teams? What is the sitting arrangement? What would happen in meetings? How do they interact between those that are in the office and not in the office? What are the policies? To reduce this anxiety, the employers need to inform them and provide the training to prepare the employees coming back. Also, they need to give them an incentive. Why should they come back? Or else people are not going to be proactive to come back, and they will wait until they are absolutely forced to come back. So they need to give them an incentive to come back. What will they gain by leaving their home and what they have gotten used to in the last 2 years and coming back to the work, going through the commutes, interacting with others, having longer work-related hours in their days. So organizations need to think about an incentive in order to make people proactive and excited to come back to work. And giving them resources, building on the training, but resources. If they are having challenges, who do they go to? How can they learn more? How can they be better equipped to come back to work. And this will also help with their frustration. And as they come up with their vision, have an action plan with timelines. When is what happening? Who is coming back? In what format? And being engaged with the employees as they go through this action plan so that they can start and not delay this transition. And after people come back, now there's going to be a period of change. People may be more likely to come back to the office because of the new policies, because of the incentive, because of the changes within the work arrangements. But if they want this to be something that they continue, they need to constantly monitor it and see how people are doing, address their concerns, and continue giving them the incentives to be back at work. Having said that, this could also be an exciting time, a time for change. Other changes that the organizations may have been thinking to implement in the past, but they never got to it, or it would have been very difficult to do it. But now people are more open to change. And having worked from home for 2 years, a lot of things that they were doing in the past, they don't remember anymore. So now is a time that organizations can bring in new ideas, new processes, new initiatives, and there may be a greater enthusiasm from employees to embrace it. So this is an exciting time. It's a time for change. And as we see this transition, it's going to be interesting how each organization will engage and manage their employees.